Would you die for your country? Imagine yourself in a large vessel out at sea. Not a yacht, a flat bottom boat, enormous, with 100 other people sitting, waiting to jump to the ocean. That was my grandfather, a little over 8 years ago, off the beaches of Normandy. He was just 18 when he had volunteered for the Canadian Army, and at that very precise moment, a single thought echoed in his head. What the hell am I doing here? He entered university at 15, a brilliant engineering career led ahead of him, until he leaped boldly into the unknown, at the risk of losing everything. So he ran, just like the others, as fast as he could through the beaches of Normandy, the bullet whistling past his ears, the bombs exploding. The fear of death. After the war, he didn't return to Canada, but completed a PhD in physics at Cambridge while publishing his book on philosophy. He then went on to teach in former British colonies in Africa before dedicating himself to cancer research. At 65, he decided to master Java and Italian, and at 70, he traveled to Rwanda during the war to meet with the UN peacekeepers. And trust me, when a soldier pointed a gun at him in Kigali, he mumbled once again, "What the hell am I doing here?" He unfortunately passed away in 2007, 1 month after my birth, having shared one of his definitions of success, which is not about achieving a specific goal, but about the legacy one leaves behind. In my family, the word passion runs supreme. The more impossible a project seems, the more likely we are to pursue it. And so it makes me think of my grandpa when I pitched a startup idea at the age of 12 in front of 100 investors in Lausanne. Or when at 16, I completed the IBDP and the Swiss maturity. And 1 year later, I stepped on stage, hands trembling, playing Liszt La Campanella on piano to win the Geneva Conservatory first prize. Or at the same age, when I decided to join EPFL in computer science, working late at night as a sales representative for an ecological startup and build my own IA-powered app. And now, in front of you all, tell me, Grandpa, what am I doing here? What could someone my age have possibly have to say about success? At just 18, I got a flood of advices such as, become a pianist, you'll be super famous and have the best girls on your side, or IA, that's the only thing that matters, build your startup, or even with your grades, reach top business schools and become a super executive. This word, success, this condition, success at all cost, but at what cost? And then I see the success stories of my peers on Instagram and TikTok, fake traders, scammy courses online on how to become a millionaire. These influences, narcissism pushed in the extreme, in a whirlwind of stupidity and emptiness. And this wave of hope just flooding social media come and amplify a pressure already so present in our meritocratic society. This pressure to succeed. And so it makes me think, what could success have possibly meant for a young boy in 1944? And what could it mean for me 80 years later? For my grandpa, success wasn't something you directly achieve. It wasn't about an object, a wealth, a status. It wasn't about climbing the ladder. For my grandpa, success was more to be able to create his life and to live it fully at every moment. And he often stated Erich Fromm, a German psychoanalyst and psychologist, who once said, "The true tragedy is that men misses out the only satisfaction that brings happiness, the experience of activity at the present moment." And I think this definition still resonates 80 years later. But in my view, it still needs to be enriched by 3 core principles that fuel me, which are audacity, excellence, and this hysterical rejection of mediocrity. Audacity is simply the engine of every transformation. It's this fire within that pushes us the beaten path, that challenges established models, that leads us to act where others hesitate. Being bold is not only about taking risks, it's about believing in your vision so much that you can turn it into reality, even when it's uncomfortable or ends up in failure. It's about accepting that people would say your idea won't work despite hours put into it, and doing it anyways. It's about stopping listening to people that say you're not qualified, because the truth is, only you can decide if you are. I mean, do you think I was qualified at 12 in front of 100 investors in Lausanne, or at 17 knocking at doors of big clients as a sales representative or reaching partnerships for mine? I mean, of course not. By every conventional standards, I wasn't. But you know what? I didn't care, because the truth is, audacity doesn't come from a certificate or someone else's permission. Audacity lives right here the moment you decide to show up, even when the world tells you you're not ready. And then, unfortunately, comes excellence. Not as a sterile quest for perfection, but as a personal standard. Excellence doesn't tolerate good enough and transcends ease. It's discipline, attention to detail, this fierce drive to see things through both passion and rigor. Excellence transforms a rough project into a lasting work, even at the cost of frustration. And you see, excellence can no longer be considered as unreachable. And as a representative of my generation, I can say that its pursuit has multiplied. Access to knowledge has never been greater. People interest themselves in more and more things. We're shifting into an era of constant innovation. And these imbalances of rhythms are leading us to what we will more commonly call this cognitive capitalism, where our knowledge and our excellence will become our greatest weapons in society. And let me illustrate you this point with a small personal story. About a year ago, when I was a sales representative for an ecological startup, I managed to land a sales meeting with the director of a Swiss second division football club. For us, this was huge. I mean, he represented one of our biggest potential clients. And so I prepared as best as I could. I polished my slides, memorized my pitch, and rehearsed every single line. I was ready. And then the meeting started. I spoke with confidence, but for 3 minutes, before he interrupted me, looked at me straight in the eyes, laid a bit on the back, and asked me a simple and legitimate question. What are the exact chemical components that actually make your product sustainable? Which was the whole point. And at that instant, I froze. I mean, I didn't have the answer. My profession was surface level. I knew the pitch, but not the science behind it. And I also knew that in 3 minutes, I managed to lose the prospect we were all dreaming of. But it taught me a lesson I have never forgotten, is that sometimes, without true excellence, some opportunities can disappear in seconds. But excellence alone isn't still enough. It must be paired up with an uncompromising rejection of mediocrity. Something my grandpa opposed fiercely, not out of arrogance, but out of loyalty to what he stood for. Rejecting mediocrity means saying no to complacency, to smugness, to the thing that numbs audacity and willpower. It means rejecting ease, rejecting this temptation to be content with what just IA spits out. Rejecting this easy way, going further than what you think you can. Because when society pushes us to stay comfortable, it quietly creates mediocrity, born from a lack of audacity and excellence. And so, at 18, when will I be able to say, I've made it, I've succeeded? When will this desire for excellence, audacity, and rejection of mediocrity will result in this deep sense of satisfaction that I've made it in my career, my family, my life? It's a hard question. But what I do know is this, that I'll be close to the stars of success the day I'll be able to make this popular quote my own. Success is not about climbing someone else's ladder. It's about building your own freely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melchior. It truly